What's up, everybody? And today we are checking out how these brave Filipinos somehow beat 40-1 odds in the Battle of Yultong. Yultong? During the Korean War. I'm so bad at pronouncing words on this channel, it's ridiculous. Which is ironic considering I read so many different foreign words when I look at different foreign militaries on this channel. But this is by The Front. I will leave a link down below to the original video. Please go over there, give it a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really important that you do that. Before we get started, if you haven't already, check out Chug, 10% off, link down below. Literally the best drinking vessel in the world. Look at this rope handle. It's absolutely brilliant. It's actually legit rope. Like, it's so good, this drink. It is the best drinking vessel in the world. You can get 10% off, link down below. Get it right now. Get yourself a Chug for Christmas. Treat yourself. You deserve it. I know you do. 10% off, link down below. Really important that you do that and go and check them out at least, because they are a fantastic small business here in the UK, and I love to support these small businesses, especially ones that make quality stuff like this. If you want to look like an absolute legend while you're drinking your beer, you know what to do. Anyway, for now, let's shut up, let's pull this up, and let's see what this battle of Yultong, it's Y-U-L-T-O-N-G, Yultong, during the Korean War. Let's see what it's all about, shall we?
Time and time again, history proves that warfare isn't entirely a numbers game.
True.
And one of the best examples of this rule in action took place during the Korean War, when a small Filipino force held their ground against a far larger Chinese division. While the numbers were almost certainly blown out of proportion for the purposes of propaganda, some of the more conservative estimates still speak of victory against all odds. In this video, we pay our respects to the 900 brave Filipinos who fought in the highly exalted Battle of Yultong or
Yultong.
Yuldong.
Yultong, okay. Okay, I've never seen this channel before. This is the first time we're checking out this channel called The Front. It seems by the looks of it that it's that one individual telling the story. You know how much, in fact, it says here, video credits, narrator is someone called Cam. Editor is Steve, writer is Nick. So they've got quite a few people attached to this, which is pretty cool. You know how much I love storytelling on YouTube, even so much that I've tried it a little bit in the past, and I'm actually going to be bringing it back now that I'm in this new studio. And you know how much I love storytelling. So watching something like this, a new channel with storytelling, gets me really, really excited. Link down below. Go and check them out. Watching old military footage is absolutely crazy, isn't it? Like, sometimes when I see this stuff, it's almost surreal, isn't it? Especially when you see stuff from World War I and II as well.
Before we get stuck into the Battle of Yultong, just what were the Filipinos and Chinese doing in Korea anyway? Well, the Korean War was one of the bloodiest wars of the Cold War era. At the end of the Second World War, Korea was essentially divided into two halves. The Soviet Union administered north half and the United States administered south half. Both Korean governments were certain...
There was some news recently about South Korea and their government and some sort of coup that was happening, and it ended pretty quickly. There was something bizarre going on, and I didn't really like read up on it much. I kind of just skimmed over it in the news. If someone can let me know in the comments what that was all about. There was some sort of government thing happening, or I'm not sure, but it all seemed really bizarre.
That they, and not their north or south counterpart, were in charge of the country, however. And on the 25th of June 1950, the North Korean People's Army marched into South Korea. In response, the United Nations started deploying its forces, with 21 UN member countries ultimately answering the call. The Philippines was one of such countries, deploying the Philippine Expeditionary Force to Korea, or PEF-TOK, in August that same year.
Okay.
PEF-TOK entered Korea at a strength of 1,486, but it grew to include some 7,500 during the conflict.
I don't know much about the Korean War. I feel like there was a... When you're in school in England, you learn more about World War I and II because that affected the homeland of Britain, right? So you don't really learn as much about a lot of these other wars that go on. And I guess that's probably, as I spoke to my wife, who obviously grew up in America. She kind of says the same thing, where World War One and Two are kind of the things that you learn the most about. But then for them, you've got the Vietnam War that you hear quite a bit about. And now, obviously, Iraq and Afghan. But it was mostly like Vietnam and World War One and Two. So for things like the Korean War, they just kind of get brushed over, which I feel like is such a shame, because this is another major war that happened in it, and it almost feels shameful that I don't know much about it. Do you know what I mean?
One of the units under Pevtok was the 10th Battalion Combat Team, or simply the 10th BCT, which we'll get to soon. Sharing a border with Korea and maintaining different ideologies to the Western Bloc, it's no wonder that China watched the Korean War with weary eyes. In the words of Chinese Premier Zhao Enlil, directed at the UN, Korea is China's neighbor. The Chinese people cannot help but be concerned with a solution to the Korean question.
I mean, it makes total sense. Like, it's literally on the border right there, isn't it? So it's like, imagine if Canada went to war, America would obviously be concerned and start getting involved.
When UN forces invaded North Korea in October, China mustered the Chinese People's Volunteer Army, or PVA, crossed the Yalu River in North Korea and startled the UN forces positioned there into a hasty retreat. This was the first of the PVA's 5 major offensives in the Korean War, with their last being the 5th Phase Offensive, or Spring Offensive, during which they messed with the wrong group of fighting Filipinos. In the lead up to the Battle of Yultong, the aforementioned 10th BCT was attached to the US 3rd Infantry Division.
Let's look at this right here. So from the north, you've got the 15th, the 12th, and the 60th PVA, Turkish Brigade, Filipino 10th, and then the 65th Infantry Regiment just to the south. So it looks like the Filipino 10th BCT in Yultong was attacked by the PVA 12th, but the 12th was also occupied with the Turkish Brigade there as well, which is interesting. There's a river to the west of them, and they're in between, like a cross. Yeah, that is a crossroad there. So that's interesting. So it's almost as if they are kind of on the front line, because they've got. I'm surprised the 15th here. Like, they would have had to come down this road to get to. I mean, this is obviously quite a primitive map. This, isn't it? If you look at it, it's not showing contours and terrain and stuff like that. I love breaking down these maps. I love looking at this type of stuff, especially like actual. There's some history channels that do like top-down animated of battles. I cannot get enough of them. I pause them. I look at them. I think, what would I do in this situation? Where would I move? Where would I go? Like the Filipino military here are stuck between like a two roads here, which is not a good place to be. You know, both of their allies are on the other side of these roads, which is never fun. And that, if you know anything about military warfare, you know that crossing a road can be dangerous because of line of sight. But at the same time, we don't know what this terrain is with this primitive map. Is it a woodland? Is it fields? Is it, marshland? Like, we don't know, do we?
North of the South Korean county of Yeoncheon and just east of Imchin River, the 3rd US Infantry Division deployed the attached US 65th Infantry Regiment, the Filipino 10th BCT, and the Turkish Brigade to stop 3 advancing Chinese army corps.
Okay.
The Americans set up on a north to south front parallel to the Imjin River, while the Filipinos watched the 65th's northeast flank. The Turks held a broad west to east front just east of the 10th BCT.
Okay.
It began at 8 p.m. on the 22nd of April 1951. An artillery barrage...
A lot of different countries involved there. It makes you wonder what the comms was like. I wonder what the comms were like and how they were communicating between them. And was there much communication between them apart from just you hold this section, I hold this section type of thing?
Lit up the night sky, landing on the Turkish brigade and blowing them to shreds. Some 4 hours later, artillery and mortar shells pummeled the entire 3rd Infantry Division front, paving the way for machine gun and small arms fire. Now, falling upon the 10th BCT was an entire PVN division. Either the 34th Division of the 12th Army, according to the UN, or the 44th Division of the 15th Army, according to the Chinese.
Interesting.
Either way, the division was at least 10,000 troops strong, with propaganda estimates reaching as high as 40,000.
Ooh, that's a lot of people.
What ensued was a series of close quarter engagements in which the Filipino 10th BCT managed to hold its ground. The Americans and Turks, however, couldn't handle the heat and retreated several hundred meters south, leaving the 10th BCT standing like a lone island in a relentless Red Sea.
Oh my God. So if you think back on that map that we just saw then, if you'd see the US and the Turks like retreat and they're just on their own in the front there, oh my God. Like you've got to have some balls to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Stranded and severely outnumbered, the 10th BCT put its foot down and decided it would stop the Chinese advance then and there.
It makes me wonder if this is actual photographs of the area, because if that's the case, there's not much woodland, there's not much cover. It's a bit hilly, but it looks mostly like fields, and it doesn't look like there's much to cover at all unless you've got some trenches there.
Or die trying. Either way, they gave the PVN division a fight that China will never forget. Filipino drivers, medics, clerks, typists, cooks, and even the unit's chaplain took up arms and threw themselves into the battle, which raged in pockets throughout the 10th BCT's position.
Good on
In the
them.
words of fighting Filipino Luminoso Cruz, the Chinese attacked us in waves all night. My buddy and I just kept firing and firing our rifles. Slowly but surely, however, the PVN attack eroded the 10th BCT's position.
Wait, was it snowing? Was it snowing as well? Is that an actual image of it? Surely not. God, can you imagine if it was snowing as well? That's horrific. Look, I mean, you can see in the image, and if you've done any like Arctic warfare, you're well aware of it. If you're not wearing white, you stick out like a sore thumb. Look at that. Like the quality of this image. My God.
And most of the unit complied with an order to fall back to a secondary line. Most. But for the 10th BCT's tank company, this wasn't an option. Under the command of Filipino Captain Conrado Yap, the company drove toward a hill captured by the PVN, where the company aimed to rescue as many Filipino survivors and recover as many dead Filipino bodies as they could.
Good on him.
To this end, the company succeeded, saving the lives of an incredibly grateful 10th BCT squad.
Wow.
For his bravery, however, Captain Yap himself paid the ultimate price, receiving his Philippine Armed Forces Medal of Valor posthumously.
It makes you wonder. So obviously they had some tanks. I'm wondering what the PVA had. Like what equipment did they have? Did they just have boots on the ground and small arms, or did they have tanks and vehicles? Surely they had other equipment as well. It said that they had machine guns, so they would have been put into position. And if it looked anything like that image, hilly, no trees, not much cover, snow everywhere. God, that's a rough place to be, isn't it? It's a rough place to be. Unless rough. It's a rough place to be, unless you've got some trenches dug or something like that.
The citation read, Captain Yap, in a desperate effort to rescue the lost unit, ordered for covering support from the other units under his command and personally led a furious counterattack to regain the hill position and rescue the trapped unit, despite an authority that he may withdraw, which he has already received. He then proceeded to assault an enemy emplacement about 300 yards away, despite the hail of enemy fires, until he fell dead from an enemy bullet.
Wow.
Captain Yap also received the United States Distinguished Service Cross, with the citation reading, he fearlessly led a daring charge to reach the beleaguered platoon. Under heavy fire received from flanks, they relentlessly pressed the assault, regained the hill, evacuated the casualties, and rescued the isolated unit. Observing a stricken soldier on the slope of the hill, Captain Yap immediately started toward the man, but was mortally wounded by a burst of enemy fire. Inspired by his heroic conduct, his men continued the fight with such determination and skill that the enemy attack was contained and numerous casualties were inflicted.
There's always, for some reason, during wartime, it makes these individuals shine, doesn't it? These certain people just seem to thrive during the war. And for some unknown reason, they appear out of nowhere as regular men. And then during war, they just absolutely throw everything on the line. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in that mindset. Did this individual think we're dead anyway, we might as well do what we can? Did he think I've got to save these people? Did he think, was it just out of pure emotion and anger? You'll never know unless you met someone who did something as daring as this. But the thing is, the majority of these very rare, incredible individuals that do stuff like this in the military during wartime, they're not usually around after it to tell the tale. It's other people that tell the tale. It's very rare that you get someone who does something as drastic like this actually survive, unfortunately. But it just psychologically, it just makes me wonder what's going through the head during these moments, or if they're in just like a flow state, right? If they're just, it's just so ingrained in their DNA to help that they're in a flow state completely, and they're not even thinking, they're just doing, right? That's another option as well.
By dawn, the 10th BCT had scarcely given any ground to the Chinese division, and in covering the 3rd Infantry Division's retreat, the Filipinos had utterly exhausted their enemy, whose offensive was growing weaker by the second.
Wow.
Tireless, the 10th BCT then launched a counterattack, pushing the Chinese back a few places on the board and putting an end to the Battle of Yultong.
Wow.
While the Filipino 10th BCT suffered 56 casualties in total, these fearless soldiers, cooks and chaplains, and whoever else was able to pick up a gun, managed to kill more than 500 Chinese troops throughout the battle.
So you're talking nearly 10 times more. They lost, what, 56, he said, and they killed 500. It's nearly 10 times more people. That's incredible, isn't it? That is outstanding.
It's safe to say that the Filipinos proved themselves a force to be reckoned with over those 2 days in April 1951. But maybe this was better expressed in the words of Filipino Major Maximo Young, who was actually there. The Battle of Yultong was the greatest Filipino victory in the Korean War. It was one of many battles fought by the United Nations Command in an effort to repel the biggest offensive of the Korean War, the Communists' Great Spring Offensive. By 6 a.m. of the 23rd of April, the 10th BCT was one of only 2 UNC units on the Western Front not overran or wiped out by the tremendous Chinese assault. PEFTOC, to me, is the embodiment of Filipino patriotism.
I don't think I've done much on the Filipino military. I'd love to. I should do some more. I want to know more about the special forces, if they even have one. I want to know more about what rifles they use. How does their military look structurally? Have they got a navy? And if they do they have an air force and then an army? Do they have marines? Do they have some sort of commandos like a lot of countries do, especially ones that are connected to the UN? Yeah, it makes me wonder how they're structurally organized. And I need to do more about the. If you want me to watch more Filipino military stuff, let me know in the comments.
But what do you guys think? Had you heard about the Battle of Yultong before?
Never heard of it.
Did the 10th BCT really face off against as many as 40,000 Chinese troops? Or was that just propaganda? Lastly, would you have agreed when American General Douglas MacArthur said, "Give me 10,000 Filipino soldiers and I will conquer the world"? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Great video.
And just before you go, guys, if you want access to exclusive rewards, videos, and a lot of other stuff, including a behind-the-scenes Discord, do consider donating to our Patreon. If you enjoy some of the music we use in our videos here, check out our Relax Shack music channel, where we post weekly uploads there.
That's
some of
really
which
cool.
You can actually use for your own project.
That's really cool. Again, I'll leave a link down below to this channel. Please go and give it some love. They obviously really care about the community, and they're really good at storytelling. Who is it? They said there's someone else wrote it, and then Cam narrated it with someone else editing it and someone else researching it. So they've got a whole group of people here working on this channel. I've never seen this channel before. The Front, it's called.
This video would not be possible.
I'm very impressed. Wow, they've got a lot of military videos here. We'll see how this video goes, and maybe we can check out some more other stuff and get them some more subscribers, because they obviously deserve it. They've got some incredible videos, haven't they? What's some of the most popular ones? Wow, okay. All right. They've got like animated stuff, statistical stuff here. Yeah, very impressed with their videos. But that was how these brave Filipinos somehow beat 40-1 odds in the Battle of Yultong or Yultong. Absolutely fantastic video. Loved that. I love the videos that are like they don't like beat around the bush. There's no fluff involved. It's like this is the story. This is how it happened. I know my way of storytelling, and I've pondered with storytelling every now and again. I've practiced with certain things. Is I like to give people the facts when they happen, rather than embellishing it too much with storytelling. But then I like to embrace the heroes that are involved in it. Does that make sense? I'm working on a project right now, or I've just started working on a project to start telling my own stories of not just my own stuff in the military, but key individuals in the British military. It's something that I'm really passionate about. It's going to take time. I know people are really interested in that. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of work. But when it does come out, I'm hoping that it lands really well and the storytelling is on point. But that was absolutely brilliant. The front, I'll leave a link down below. Make sure you go over there. I'm going to do it right now. Like and subscribe. Right here. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Right here. Like and subscribe. Make sure you've gone ahead and done that, guys. Okay. Don't forget to check out Chug. 10% off link down below. Make sure you get yourself one before Christmas. You're not going to get a better offer, and you're not going to get a better drinking vessel. This is legendary. You can get them customized with your initials. They are absolutely brilliant. There's different colors. There's one back there. You see the black one. Check them out. Link down below. Other than that, I love you all. I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.